Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing of Dungeons of Doria. This is a cooperative roguelike dungeon crawler with a lot of loot. That's right, loot galore is inside this box. If you don't believe me, just wait till you see me unbox this game. There is so much loot. It's going to be super awesome. I did have the honor of being able to provide video footage for the Kickstarter when this went live for Dungeons of Doria, and because of that, the company was gracious enough to send me a copy of the completed game. So this is their copy. This is a copy from the company that they sent to me. We're going to unbox it, see what it's all about, hopefully get this to the table, and I can show you everything about this game. Now, like I said, this is a dungeon crawler. It's for 1 to 6 players. It's age 14 up, and it usually takes about 45 minutes per player for each thing. There are multiple quests that you can go on in this game, and we're going to dig into all this and see what's in store. And if you're excited to do that, then I need you to meet me at the table. This game has, from what I understand, I think double or tripled the size of what it was when I got the prototype back for the Kickstarter. Let's dig in, see what there is. There are going to be a ton of punch boards here, so we'll take a look at all of those. Then we have the rule book right here. It's a rather large rule book. This has a very old school dungeon crawler feel to it, so there is going to be quite a bit of rules in order to play through it. So the rule book does sit at about 47 pages, and it is pretty thick when it comes to the actual rules. There is some diagrams that are going to explain things, but it is a pretty big and thick rule book when you're going to dig into this game, just to let you know. There are single scenarios that you can play in this game. They're one-shot type deals, and they're going to tell you how to set it up. This is one of the ones, I did one of these one-shots when I did the Kickstarter tutorial. You're going to have to set up your dungeon tiles based on how they tell you, and then they'll tell you the ones to use or which random ones to pick out of there. They're going to have specific quests that you're going to have to go through, and they have an end scenario that you're going to have to deal with. And there are a ton of different ones. And from what I understand, some of these were created by people from the Kickstarter. There was a pledge that was able to help create some of these different scenarios. So it's cool that those are in there. Then we have a quick start guide that if you're new to the game, it'll teach you very quickly how to play through the game and what you're looking for on each of the cards and how to roll the dice and what different things you're comparing and how to control the initiative track and things of that nature. So you have a quick grasp of everything. But of course, if you really want to dig into the game and know every aspect of it, you're going to have to read through the rule book. This quick start guide is about, well, it isn't about, it is 11 pages. So there is that. Then we have a bunch of different quests. Each one of these, I believe they said there were 5 quests. There's the Grim Reaper, the Power of the Elements, the Book of Destiny, the Invasion of the Greenskins, and there are some, oh, there's only 5, but there are some room events. Okay, so these rooms are, any room you go into could potentially have events. That is, I believe, new from the Kickstarter that I remember playing. So I apologize that there's only 4 quests, or maybe more as we dig through here. But I think if I remember it, this one was one that was provided during the Kickstarter Invasion of the Greenskins, and I think I played through a little bit of this, and it shows you in here the map of what is going on and where the different quests are taking place. And as you can tell, these quests do branch based on things that you either did in the quest or specific things you chose in the game outside of it. Like it could be a different quest. Here we are, the different paths you could choose based on kind of a choose your own adventure, which will then lead you down different things and give you different objectives as you play through it based on whichever way you went. And of course, it'll end in probably some huge giant battle with some giant monster. And it does have, of course, a little bit of a narrative as to what you're to expect when it comes to the different scenarios you're playing. So this campaign is up to 6 players fighting against Greenskin Onslaught. We're going to play through 8 to 10 scenarios of a continuous story, and each one is going to be similar to that. This one is for up to 6 players, and this going to have 9 scenarios covering the different elemental artifacts. This is going to have 8 to 17 different scenarios depending on what you choose in the game. So we'll set these aside, but do know there are 4 massive quests that you can go on in this game. This is the initiative tracker that is in the game, and I'll explain a little bit about how this works. The first thing we see is the different game phases of the game, which is really nice to have on this tracker here. They start with the round marker moving up one, so you can track the rounds of the game, which may be important for specific scenarios that you're doing, or it might be, or even for the single scenarios as well. On top of that, as you can see down here, it shows these green things. Whenever the time moves past here, you're able to level up your characters unless something else, the game has prevented that from happening. Now, on top of that, I believe the monsters are going to start up here with their time tracker, and that's going to go down, and they're going to be able to add extra activations, things of that nature. So they're getting more powerful as you get powerful, if I remember right. Then we have some new shop items are going to appear. We can roll for initiative. Now, as we roll for initiative, we're going to place different tokens on this board. And when it comes to your, whoever's highest the initiative track is going to activate. When they activate, they're going to do abilities or move and things of that nature. And it's going to cost different action points. They're going to continue to move down the track until everybody's to a point where they can't do anything. And that also includes the enemies. The enemies are also going to move down this track. I think this is a really cool system. It's not just a you go, you go, you go, we're done. Okay, now the monsters activate. No, it's really depending on what you do. If you do a way more powerful attack, that means you're going to go farther down on this initiative track. Or if you do a bigger turn, that's going to bring you farther down, and maybe the monsters will activate almost even maybe twice before you get another turn. So you kind of want to balance that, what you do versus what you don't do in the game. I think that's kind of cool. Then these are the action phases. You can do all the different actions. There is a poison that you might have to deal with. They have special actions. There is a doom counter. And then, of course, they have that level up system, which is found on here as well. And we buy and remove shop items. And here's the different experience you get as you move. You can track that as well over on the side. So this is going to have a lot of things going on. And I think it's dual side. Oh, this is a different way of doing it. If you like it better like this, being more of a spiral versus being this way. I think that's the only difference on the board. Next, there are a lot of bags. You're going to store a lot of things. Everything in here is standees. I should show you the punch boards before I show you the rest of the box. The standees are going to go onto these little standee holder things. As you can see, the colored ones, those are going to be for your heroes moving forward. There's a whole set of dice here. This game is, as you can tell, a 10-sided die game, but they're all colored because that way you can roll multiple dice at the same time and be able to resolve everything pretty much from one die roll instead of having to roll different things. If you hit, do your damage, where you hit them, things like that. You can all just roll one set of dice and get it all done in one big shot because of the multicolored system. Looking at the punch boards, here are some of the tokens. This is the damage tokens for potential armor. So if you use it, you can put this on here to show that it's been damaged. These are the monster tokens that are going to go up and down that initiative track to show what particular monsters are going to be activating. Here are some loot tokens. These are rune tokens that are to be found on some of the tiles. On top of that, it might be used for specific quests that you have to do. On the back side, though, these are double-sided. There's going to be poison tokens on the back, and then all of our loot tokens have turned into potential elemental tokens, and we have fire, ice, and things of that nature. We also have secret doors down here at the bottom. These are going to be rubble markers and blocked doors as well. We have pits, so it's kind of neat that these are going to be double-sided. Continuing on, we have some more of those tokens that are going to be placed out onto the map. Then we also have, I believe these are going to be bonus tokens for like potentially increasing weapon powers and things of that nature, or giving yourself like +3 to defense. There, of course, are some more monster tokens. This is the Doom token, and this is the Time token that's going to be going on. The Doom token, I believe, is the one that's going to be tracked down, and it's going to be increasing monsters' abilities, where the Time token is going to be moving around to tell us how far we've been in the game. Flipping it over, again, we have some more elemental tokens down here, and then we'll move into the last few. This is where we're going to find a lot of our enemies. Our enemies are all found here on standees, and they do show what exactly it is. So this is like a mercenary number 1. So when you go to activate your enemies, you'll know which ones to activate. So you might start with all the enemies that start with number 1. So for example, we had zombie 4 and 5. We'd start with zombie 4, then move to zombie 5 and activate them in number order, for example. We also have hit point tokens down here. These are going to be, again, more that are going to affect how our characters are worked. So we might get +1 to our movement. This is going to give us +1 health. These are the more hit point tokens right down here. Now on the back side, I think there's armor. Yep, these are going to give us more armor. So say our armor increases, we're going to be able to put that on there. And then, of course, the monsters are, of course, all double-sided. And continuing to look here, we have now, here's our hero characters that are going to be out on that board, the initiative track. That's those tokens here. More monsters as well. We have some more mercenaries and some more zombies. And like I said, they are double-sided. I don't remember. It's been a while since I played. I can't remember if facing matters, and if it does, I'm surprised they are the same picture on the same side. I'm going to go with it doesn't, and if it does, I apologize for saying that incorrectly, and I'm surprised that it doesn't have a backside for a monster. That is all for that punch board, and we have one left. The one you're going to see down here is, first off, we have a lot of our heroes up here and a few of our bigger enemies. Then down here, these are the little tokens that are going to go onto our player cards and our stat cards for our characters, and I'll show you those in just a moment. But it shows all the different types of stats that we have. We have the initiative, the hit points, the psionic ability number, and our XP trackers down here as well. And so those are all of the punch boards. Now we'll go back to the box. And up here, it looks like we have the beginning of some of our loot cards and things of that nature. Let's take a look. But before we do, let's lift this off, because I'm sure all the rest of the stuff we need to find is underneath here. Apparently these went through mass chaos in shipping, but that's okay. These, now, if you notice this is all this, I'm going to take this off. These are all loot cards. I think all of these are. Look at how many there are. There are so many loot cards. And if you think that is the amount of loot cards you get, you are wrong, because then we continue on and look, we have even more loot cards. And each one of these is for a specific colored, for specific person. This is the Squire's Longswords, a standard weapon. I believe these are the weapons that you start with, but the other ones you're going to be able to gain as you go forward. Now we're going to go through all of these cards individually to look at some of the stuff that you see here. Here again are more loot cards. All loot cards. This is 2 huge stacks so far of loot cards. This is 1 stack of loot cards. We have another one exactly the same. And then our final stack over here. Here we go. Again, all loot cards. There are, I believe, almost close to 500 loot cards in this game. Oh my gosh, that's so many. We have our character sheets down here that are going to be for each one of our characters that we decide to play with. Now, I believe we have to remember exactly, but each of these characters are, I believe, a little bit different, and you'll see how what different abilities they have as I go through them. But do know these are all the different characters you can play, and you can play with up to 6 of these characters if you wish to. Now, when you play solo, I believe you have to at least use 2. I could be wrong, it could be 4. I'll have to look into it and see what it all is. Now, here, of course, is our character tablet. Here's where we're gonna track all of our different stats. You can write on this if you want to, or you should, I should say, because you have to keep track of all these numbers. And some of these are going to show you your hit points. Now, in order to get your hit points, you take your strength and constitution, and you get your total hit points. You get your agility and perception, and you add this to get your total initiative points. And you get your psi points, which I believe are the magic points that you get. And as you level up, you can choose different abilities that you can add to your character that you saw with some of those tokens, but here they're also written here. We each have psi resistance and dodge that you can do during the game while you're getting attacked. Depending on what you're being attacked by, you're going to look at the different way of being able to dodge or prevent it with psi. Now, of course, you're also going to get items and stuff that are going to help you in these particular categories. And each character does start with a specific set of stats, and then you're going to be able to increase these based on how you do your level ups as you go forward. They have a whole set of tablets for your campaign overview here that you can talk about. You have your campaign, what scenario you're in, you can have notes about it, how much group XP you have, and the monster point total, so that as you go forward, so for example, if you defeat the bonus here, you get to keep 1 loot card after the scenario. And yes, as you go through the game, you're going to be dropping, or not dropping, but you're going to be coming back to your next mission with potentially not as much as you went in with, so it keeps the game balanced, and you don't just become this ultimate warrior like from WWE. All right, let's see, we have our monster cards down here. We'll look through some of those, and then these are all the different tiles that we can have for Dungeons of Doria. There's a whole ton of them, and some are going to be specific for quests and scenarios, and some are going to be random that you're going to be placing out there according to the campaign or the quest that you're on itself. And each of these does have markings on it as to where you're going to place particular monsters or gold or loot items and maybe runes as you go forward. And let's see where else we got here. So yeah, here's different monsters, and depending on what mission or quest you're on, these are going to mean different things. So it could mean to place the white character there. So for one mission, it could be a zombie. For another mission, it could be a mercenary. You'll have to see as you play through it. They have beds in here, and like I said, some may tell you not to use certain tiles, and some may say, hey, mix tiles B7 through C5 together, and then stack them down on the ground, and then put underneath those, put tiles B5 and B6 and mix those together, and maybe B5 is the tile we're trying to get to. So it will take you a little while to get to. It's not one of those games where you could just flip over the next tile and that's the end of the quest. It is going to be you're going to have to move through these dungeons looking for places, and of course you can move out in different areas and go to different areas as they hook up like this. So it's kind of neat how all these are going to be able to fit together. So this one might be able to move you into a whole pit area here that you have to deal with. Oh, I don't want to go to a pit, but here we have something looks like it has some stuff in there. Here's one that has a corner area that can connect to another like spot here, or it could connect, let's see here, where's another good example here? Oh, here we go. This has a 4 spot up on the top. It could connect straight up with another, let's say 3 spots. So these things all connect like that. So it's kind of creates this big, cool thing. As you can notice, some of them you can go underneath and move around. So I really like the tile system in this game. It's really cool. Each one of these is unique and each one has its own set of flavor. And this is usually your starting tile. You can place your 6 characters here, and you can even start by picking up some loot right off the bat. Wow, you can't go wrong with not being able to get loot right off the bat is fantastic. The first set of cards we have is our hero cards. You can either choose one, or it even says if you want to, you can mix these up and people can just randomly choose a hero they want to be. We have the warrior, the shield maiden, the ranger, the huntress, the adventurer, the scoundrel, the mage, and the priestess. And each of these does have a set of stats here that then you would write on your character card that you would keep track of. And then you can figure out how much your health, initiative points, and psi you have based on your numbers. So and wisdom and psi together, I think, are going to be able to, divided by 2, are going to bring you your psi number, where your strength and constitution divided by 2 is going to give you your health, and this will give you your initiative points. Now, also, the important thing about the numbers you see here is going to influence what you can carry and where in the game. So, for example, our warrior, it does say it comes with a combat hammer. Notice he needs to have a 9 strength and 9 constitution in order to wield this hammer. So I couldn't have my scoundrel do it because my scoundrel only has a 6 strength. He could never be able to hold that particular weapon. On top of that, he also comes with the tri-armor. So if we find that in the starting armor, this is all starting gear. Here's the tri-armor. Again, it needs 10 strength and 10 armor to wear it. And it looks like it gives us a defense of 4, and it also has protection from water, I believe that is. But it is going to have -1 initiative points moving forward because of that, which could be something that's going to be pretty, it could hurt you in the long run. But of course, a warrior is going to be full of armor and weapons and ready to take on the world. But that, of course, is your starting gear, and each character does have its own set of starting gear. On top of that, your characters would also be able to gain 6 extra loot cards. And like I said, there is so many of these loot cards. I'm going to move this box. Look at these amount of loot cards. It is just insane. There's the loot cards right there. Oh my gosh. And each one of these I can barely pick up with my hand. Like I said, almost, I think, close to 500 loot cards. And each one of these is going to have its own set of stats. And now, of course, some of them are potions, like it shows here, but some of these are going to be traps. Oh, here's the traps. Wow, I have to shuffle all these together because they're not just randomly put together. But traps are going to be something. So if you go to pick up a loot card, it could be a trap, and you've got to figure it out. Oh, just like Admiral Akbar. All right, we'll go over here. I'm sure there's some of the weapons. Here we go. Okay, so we found deer horn knives. We picked this up. Now, of course, we can't use this. We have 12 strength and 12 agility. Now, we could, I believe, sell or trade this for a certain amount of gold to the store that is going to have its own set of gear out there that you can pick up. So see, I can't use this, but I could use this. I could maybe sell this in order to buy that weapon. And then my weapon then would be having to do I'll roll 3 dice in order to attack, 2 dice plus 1 to defend. It gives me 0 towards my initiative, but it does give me 2 extra health from how I understand how this works. And then, of course, you'd have those all out on your character board here. And of course, your character board can only have a certain amount of stuff, but there is a place to put stuff in your belt. But you can also put stuff in your backpack. But to get things out of your backpack is going to cost you action points that you're going to have to move down on that track. So it is super cool how this game is. So the loot deck is not only just all loot, there is some traps in it and things of that nature, but my gosh, look at all those. It's absolutely bonkers. The next card we have are going to be all of our different monster cards. Now, this is just going to be the type of monster that will appear on the board based on specific scenarios, or depending on what is in the actual deck that you're going to form for the game. Now, you might use all of them. We'll see how it goes. Now, of course, the monsters are going to spawn out on these tiles, and I originally talked about these and I was a little incorrect. The different colors of these is really based on player count more than these specific monsters. So monsters are going to be drawn from these decks to figure out what is going to be in the room. But for example, the white ones are going to be for all 1 through 6 characters, where if you're playing with 4 or more, the yellow ones are going to be active. And if you play with even more, for example, say you have 5 or more players, then you'll use the green one, or sorry, 4 or more for the green one, 5 or more for the yellow one, and the red ones that are out here on the board are going to be if you're playing with full 6 players. So that's how the different icons on this are. I spoke a little bit wrong the first time, but just want to make sure you understand how that works. Then we draw the monsters. Now the monsters are only going to have what the monster is. It's not going to say any of the stats or anything about it. So for example, you draw a goblin and things of that nature. Now on top of that, this is the cool thing about this game. One of the neat things is that also shuffled into the deck will be these. These are monster abilities. So if you have to draw a monster to appear on the tile and you draw one of these, say you draw Soul Eater, that means this monster is going to have this additional modifier that is going to be part of the monster. So then every monster could be potentially different based on what you draw from the stack of cards. And you could draw multiples. You could have a fire creature that is colossal and raging in anger, and then you finally draw a vampire. So you have a flaming vampire that's raging in anger that is colossal coming at you, which is going to be a totally different fight than just fighting a straight old vampire, or even fighting a vampire that that targets the head. So it's really cool. This is one of my favorite parts of the game, is the fact that you're able to modify each of these, or potentially could have monsters coming out that are modified, and you never know until you draw what monster is coming at you. Oh no, now I've got a faster monster coming at me. I'm in the maybe I've got a zombie that has a way better speed. So it's something out of 28 Days Later instead of something out of Night of the Living Dead. So super cool. I love this system a lot with the cards. On the top of the monster deck that you draw from, here are the monster stat cards that you're going to get. And again, there are a lot of these. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is they have boss monsters, and there are, of course, some cards that are going to tell you how to play the game. They're going to be quick reference cards. But there are 4 different levels of each of these monsters moving forward. And you're going to see that located up here on the top of the card. So these are level 1 monsters. This is the range they're going to be able to attack from. These are the action points that they have available to them. And it gives you a little idea of what each of these monsters are going to be able to do. And as you can tell, each one of these monsters is completely different when it comes to how they're going to be able to attack and what their stats are all about. This is their attack stat. This is their defense stat versus psi attacks and versus straight up attacks. This is the amount of hit points they each have and the attack type they're going to do. So each one of these is super different. And like I said, as you go forward, here's a level 4. Now look at how much of a difference this is. 2d2 plus 4, and then the defense 7, but look, 3 health now. It has 1 armor. It's resistant to fire. It has 5 health. Oh my gosh, 5, sorry, not 5 health. This is the type of attack type. So it changes as you move through these. Here's a troll. Look at this troll. It attacks with like earth type attacks. And of course, the abilities that they have on there are going to be super good going forward. They have so many different types. So here again is that raging rock axe. There's a little bit of a difference here. He's going to he has 7 versus 5 plus 2. He's got 3, 2, 4. I mean, these are completely different numbers, but the abilities they do stay the same. So those are some of the monster cards. Just wanted to quickly show you those a little bit closer up. Also on top of that, we do have event cards that are going to be used in this game. So for example, this one says no event, but here we got one that says the door slams. So the door is going to slam shut behind you. Or we got shelf cover. So we can use shelves as cover, or the monsters might be using it. Or we have blue key. We're trying to find keys in maybe some of the scenarios, and we found the blue key. Those are all, that's a whole nother deck of cards that is part of this. It's a very card heavy game, but there's not a ton of card decks, which is one of the things I like about it. And the other thing I like about it is a lot of the things are all mixed together in a deck. For example, we got our traps and items, abilities, and our monsters, and we have our events. And that's really about all they are when it comes to the amount of decks in the game. But as you can see, there are an absolute monstrous amount of cards in the game that make this game so cool. You're never going to pull, I can't even imagine ever pulling the same amount of items we're going to pull from these decks ever. It's so cool. And that is everything you're going to find in Dungeons of Doria. There is a lot going on in this game. This is a roguelike dungeon crawler, and it has a lot of cool rules that keep the game flowing. But like I said, it's not a lot to keep track of because there's only a few decks. It just happens to have a lot of cards in each deck. I mean, look at these. There's, like I said, there has to be over almost close to 500 items. And look at all the different enemies and abilities that these enemies can have. And like I said, each scenario or mission you play isn't going to use all of these, if I remember right. I think it'll say like, hey, take out these enemies, mix them into a deck with these particular abilities. Or if, as you go forward, when you're playing your own single scenarios, you might be able to mix and match whatever you'd like in the game. So there you have it. That is Dungeons of Doria. I'm excited to see how this game all transpires. I hope you enjoyed the unboxing. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so if you might be able to see some more Dungeons of Doria. If you're interested in seeing a playthrough, I did do one for the Kickstarter that you can locate in my channel. Just take a search for it and it's probably there. If you're also, please feel free to leave anything in the comments below. Have you had a chance to get this to the table yet? Are you waiting for your copy to come? You've never heard of it and excited to try it out? If you can find it, I would recommend it. If you're interested in those big giant dungeon crawl type games, there are so many different characters. And like I said, you can equip these characters so many different ways. So this guy, as his strength goes up, he can gain a chain sickle, which is pretty cool. Or maybe a short bow going forward, or even some of the armor and stuff that comes out of the decks. It's super neat. There are so many different ways of being able to play this game, and all the different items and monsters is phenomenal. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out the link to my Patreon. It's found in the description of this video. Those that have joined the Patreon are found here on the screen. Thank you so much for your patronage. Going forward, the Patreon perks that they get is that you're able to watch any of my playthroughs, usually about a day or two ahead of time, without commercial interruptions. Also, when coming to games such as like Dungeons of Doria or things of that nature, I would ask my Patreons what characters they'd like to see in these particular games similar to this, or how should we go forward after the next first mission? What should we upgrade? What weapons should we keep moving forward into the game? I would have my Patreons decide that because it gives them a chance to help me develop the games and keep our characters moving forward and have them have a hand in how these games transpire. So there you have it. That is Dungeons of Doria. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're excited to see what Colin and I have coming up next, then I need you to meet me at the table.